Okay, good morning all of you. And previous lecture we have discussed about to the design process, and today we will discuss the next topics. Here are some topics which is in your syllabus. The first is know your user client, and second one is why people have trouble with the computers, and third one is the response to the poor design, and the fourth one is people and their task, and fifth one is important human characteristics in design. So first, just like in any models, any software development lifecycle model, that we have to first requirement analysis, and then design, and then coding, and then fourth part is basically is the testing phases, and fifth is deployment. So first and foremost thing that is we have to develop any interface, and we have to identify about to the client. If their client not a proper understanding about the client, then we cannot say that our interface is good, because the basic thing is that the client need, and client, what kind of client need, job and task. So first identify know your user client. That first is the understand how people interact with the computer. So for second one is to understand the human characteristics important in the design. Human characteristics, just like two type of characteristics are there. First one is, we can say that the psychological characteristics, and also the physical characteristics. Third one is identifying the user knowledge and the experience. So knowledge and the experience, what kind of user have a knowledge, what kind of experience regarding the previous interface, and identifying the characteristics of the user's need, task, and the job, what kind of needs and what kind of task of the users. Identify the user psychological characteristics, and also physical characteristics, and the employee recommended method for the gaining understanding of the user. So these are the some points we know about that the client. Okay, after that we have to understanding the how the people interact with the computer. Just like we have to interact with the computer with the input output devices, or touch screen, any input and output devices. So we will start by looking at some characteristics of the computers system, past and the present, that have caused and are causing people's problems. So first of the we will then look at the effect these problems have, why people have trouble with the computers. Second one is response to the poor design, and third one is basically people and their task. So so many people have a different troubles of the computers for operating the any interface. And if their interface is very poor, then what kind of responses are there, and what kind of tasks they have performed into the interfaces. So first is thing is that why people have trouble with the computers. So first is this. So the system design and its behavioral implementation have come under intense scrutiny in the last decade of so as we have seen, this has not always been in the case. So basically we can say that the design of business computer system has been the responsibility of the programmer, system analyst, and the system designers, uh, many of whom possess extensive technical knowledge but little behavioral training. So in recent year, the blossoming of the web with its extensive graphical capabilities has found graphical artists being added to the design team. So basically the graphical artist is basically represented what kind of functional are there, what kind of behavioral training are there. The people have so much technical training but don't have a behavioral training, which kind of interface is working. So there are some most graphical artists also possess the extensive technical knowledge in their profession but little training in the usability form. Okay, so usability, what is usability? Usability basically we can that then easy and effective. Anything we have to usable, that we can say that this thing is very easy and effectively. Poorly designed interface is often gone unrecognized. So what system are difficult to use in the eyes of the user. So these are the some several contributing factors that apply to traditional business system. Means first is use of Zorgam. Zorgam means that is on we have to we can see the system often speak in a strange language. Just like we already know that system understands 0-1 language, and the machine communicate with the machine language. So that's the words are using that is a completely alien to the office or home environment, or used in different contexts such as file specification, append, segment, and boot, and so much different tech. If we are talking with the computer with the jargon language, or we can say that to a technical language, so we cannot understand, the new person is not understand. Just like in the command interface, they have just insert the command and then execute, then interact with the computers. But right now, nowadays, that is, we have to communicate with the graphical capabilities. Second one is non-obvious design. Non-obvious design means complex or novel design system element are not obvious or intuitive, but they must nevertheless be mastered. So operation may have prerequisite condition that must be satisfied before we can accomplish, or outcome may not be always immediate, obvious, or visible. So the overall framework of the system may be invisible, with the effect the result cannot always to the actions or to the accomplish action that accomplish them. Okay, so non-obvious design means we can say that that is not understood by the users, and that we can say that the user have a trouble with the interact with the computers. Fine distinction, different action may accomplish the same thing depending upon when they are performed, or different things may result from the same action. Just like often these distinctions are minute and difficult to keep track of. If critical distinctions are not made at the appropriate time, distinction have no real consequences are made, instead illustrated by the user who state the problem. Just say just like by pressing the enter key in the wrong way, so that is given to the another operation, and the action has performed. Disparity in the problem solving strategy, people learn best by doing. We already know that the people learn from the previous past experience, so just trial and error, trial and error, trial and error, trial. So that is a problem solving strategy also. So low chance of success, the tentative solution often has the action results are used to modify one next attempt, and so increase the chance of success. If there is same error is occurred same time repeatedly, and the user can't understand what kind of problem are they facing, so at that particular time they have to modify that given them some clues about to the problem, so that's the user understand and then corrected his previous mistakes. So that then we can say that we achieve the success. Design inconsistency, basically the same action may have different names. For example, save and keep, write and list. So these are the same command may cause different thing to happens. Same result may be described differently. For example, legal or not legal, or the same information ordered differently or the different screen. So the result is that system learning become an excessive memorization, meaningful or conceptual, and learning become very difficult. So that is, if there is design the design is not consistent, so we cannot say so learning is very difficult. If they are just we have to experience about some design, and we have a knowledge about some design, but if we create a new design different from the previous one, so the user's mind not accepted at that time, so they have to again understand about that design, and again they have to given some spend to the time of the design. After that they have to understand about that particular interfaces. Next is response to the poor design. Unfortunately, if we all know already about that some interface have a poor design, then we cannot go that particular with this design with this problem, and the people have a frustrated, and that frustration is going to the keyboard and mouse and just put on the keyboard into the tables, and these are the some happens maybe there with this poor design. So that go right. So problems are ascribed an abnormal level of the importance. The magnitude of the error the computer-based system has been found as high as 46% for commands, task, or transaction. So error and other problems that are befuddled one lead to a variety of psychological and physical user response. So these are some psychological responses. The psychological responses are represented with the in our mind, just like to confusion about this particular framework, annoyance, just like to pop up the menus, and just like to create some disturbance. So these are the some psychological characteristics: confusion, annoyance, and then overburdens of the annoyance, that is called that an inability to easily convey one intention to the computer, or an inability to finish a task of satisfy a need can cause frustration. So frustration is just like I'm doing something and I can't I'm not I'm unable to complete my task. So that is that given me a frustration. And panic or stress, and long delay of during times of several or unusual pressure of introduce panic or stress. So some typical causes are an unavailable system, long response time when the user is operating under the deadline or dealing with an irritated customers. So that is create a panic or stress. Boredom, if your interface is not proper working, you just create a boredom to the user sides. Okay. Some of the physicals characteristics or response of the users, abandonment of the system. If the system is poor, that is rejected. Information sources rarely relied upon, and these sources may be available to the user must have to discuss perform the rejection. So in the business system, if we talked about to the business system, this is a common reaction of manager and professional personnel with a way almost all user can exercise this option. Second, that is leave that particular, rejected the particular system. Partial use of the system, whenever required of the use system, then we have to just operate the system and we have to just finish our given task. Okay. Next is indirect use of the system. Just I am told to the another person, just finish my task and then go to the intermediate between the user and computers. Okay. Just like to require high status and discretion, it another typical response of manager others with authority. Modification of the task is changed to match the capabilities of the system. So this is prevalent reaction when the tools are rigid and the problems is unstructured, as in scientific problem solving are there. Compensatory activities, additional action are given to compensate for the system and inadequacy. So just like to manual reformatting of information to match the structure required by the computer. So this is a reaction common to worker whose discretion is limited, such as clerical personnel. Okay, just like to I'm typing the any document and I'm just given to the document that is given the proper given into the proper format. So that is additionally compensatory activity. Misuse of the system. The rules are bent to the shortcut operational difficulty. This requires significant nodes and the system may affect system integrity. Direct programming. The system is reprogrammed by its user or meet a specific need. This is a typical response of the sophisticated worker. Next, last one is the people and their task. The different people have a different task they have to perform. Just like to in our office, there is usually overworked, fatigued, and continually interrupted. The home user may also experience of the same, and often the process associated with the children and the families as well. So user, the designer and the capable of of resolving most system problem and ambiguities through applicant of the experience and the technical knowledge. So the user want to spend time using a computer, not learning to use it, just finish to our work. So these are the some characteristics, human characteristics of to interface into design. First one is perception. Perception is basically we have to our awareness and understanding of the elements and object of our environment through the physical sensation of on various senses, just like to including sight, sound, smell, and so on. Perception is influenced in part by experience. Proximity means our eyes and mind see object as belonging together if they are near to each other in the space. Similarities, our eyes and mind see object as belonging together if they share a common visual property such as color, size, shape, brightness, or orientation. Just like to these are some perceptual characteristics with the user perception. Matching patterns, we respond similarly to the same shape in the different size, just like to letter of alphabet, for example, possess the same meaning regardless of the physical size. Succinctness, when we see an object having some perfect or simple shape, because perfection or simplicity is easier to remember. Closure, our perception is synthetic. It established meaningful holes if something does not quite close itself, such as circle, square, triangle, or word. We see it as closed anyway. Unity, we have to same type of object we have to combine together into the closed self. Continuity, sorted lines may be automatically extended. Balance, if we unit 3 we have to discuss about to the balance and we have to balance about to left angle, right angle, vertical, horizontal, just like your mobile interface. all the menus item, all the icons are in the balanced form. Okay, expectancies, just like to perception, is also influenced by the expectancies. Sometimes we perceive not what is there, what we expect to be there. Okay, so missing a spelling mistake or in proofreading, something we write is often an example of the perceptual expectancy error. We see not how a word is spelled, but how we expect to see it spelled. Context, environment and surrounding also influence individual perception. For example, two drawn lines of the same length may look the same length or different length depending on the angle of the adjacent line or what people they have said about the size of the line. Okay, so these are the context. It depend on the individual characters. Signal versus noise. Signal, our sensing mechanism, just like our eyes and our ears is bombarded by the many signals, just like stimuli. Some of these are important and some of which are not important. So what the important stimuli are called the signals, and not important, those are not important, or unwanted, that is called the noise. So signals are more quickly comprehended if they are easily distinguishable from the noise or our sensory environment, and noise interferes with the perception of signals to the extent that they are similar to one another. So noise can even mask a critical signal. The goal is to design to allow a screen element to easily assume the quality of signal or noise as the need and task of the users change from moment to moment. So we have an interface that is easily identify which is noise and which is signal. Memory, we already know that there is basically two types of memory, that is long term memory and the short term or working memory. Short term and working memory, we can say that is receive information for the short time information from either the senses or long term memory, but usually cannot receive both at once. The senses being processed separately within short term memory, and the limited amount of information processing takes place. So short term memory is basically easily overloaded, because that is short term memory is easily one by one that is coming to our mind. So it is really highly susceptible or influence of such distracting tasks as thinking, reacting or listening, which are constantly erasing and overwriting it. Just like remembering the telephone number, if we are dial a telephone number many times, so that particular time, that is called the short term memory, but it is going to your conscious memory, and that is called the long term memory. Long-term memory contains the knowledge we possess. Information received in short-term memory is transferred to the and encoded with the process we call the learning. Okay, so it is complex process requiring some effort on our part. The learning process is improved if the information being transferred from short-term memory to the long-term memory. Learning is also improved through repetitions. Okay, so short-term memory, which is distance limitation, and long-term memory capacity is throughout to be unlimited. Sensory storage is just like to buffer to automatic processing the information collected from our sense to take place. That is the place where the signals comes and then stored into the sensory storage. It is unconscious process, large, attentive to the environment, quick and detect changes, and constantly being replaced by the new gathered stimuli. Just like to radar just to constantly scan the environment, or constantly scanning the environment for things that are important to pass on to the higher memory. So they're seemingly overwhelmed at times by noise. It is can occasionally detected, probably a tree through a forest. So one good example is sometimes called the cocktail party effect. So have you ever been a party, as in room through the din of voices, someone mention your name and you hear it, in spite of the use and your in spite of the noise, your radar was functioning. Okay, visual acuity is eyes to resolve detail in the colored visual acuity. It is phenomena that result in the object becoming more distinct as we turn our eyes. Just like to have to visual acuity on that particular screen, and we have just toward our eye toward, and repeatedly since we turn our eyes away. That is the point of angle which is fixation increases. So it has been shown that relative visual acuity is approximately half of its distance, 2.5 degree from the point of eye fixation. Pattern for fill in areas of the screen, bars, circles and so on, must be carefully chosen to avoid this visual distraction. Foveal and peripheral. Foveal vision is a vision that is going to in your directly focus, and indirect focus that call is the peripheral vision. Foveal vision is used to focus directly or something, and peripheral vision is anything in the area surrounding the foveal vision, location we are looking, but what is there cannot be clearly resolved because of the limitation of the visual quality, because we already know that our eye is focused onto the particular places, and in that particular places is called the foveal vision, and if we eye to switch to the another position, that is called to the peripheral vision for that particular focus. So that is foveal and peripheral vision maintain at the same time. A cooperative and the competitive relationship are there. So peripheral vision can add a visual search, but can also be distracting. So in competitive nature, peripheral vision can compete with the foveal vision for attention, and what is senses periphery is passed on to our information processing system along with what is actively being viewed foveal. So it is in sense, it is visual noise. Information viewing, just like our mind to take information from our sensory storages and just going to the I am just take the pen from the table, and that's given to signal my mind to my hand. So information processing from one location to the another location, so that is information that our sense collect that deem important enough to do something about that has to be possessed in some meaningful way. There are two level, one level highest level, that is it is identified with consciousness and working memory, and it is limited, slow and sequential, and used for the reading and understanding. Both level functioning simultaneously, the higher level performing reasoning and problem solving, and the lower level perceiving the physical form of the information sensed. Mental model is a representation of the person current understanding of something, what kind of understanding they have, what kind of they have to think about that. So usually a person can't describe this mental mode, and most often is unaware it even exists. So mental model also enable a person to predict the actions necessary to do things if the action has been forgotten or has been not been encountered. So movement control, just like to once data has been perceived and is appropriate action decided upon, a response must be made. In many cases, just as to response is a movement, just like to I am to move the mouse pointer from one location to the another location, that is called the movement control. We're using the keyboard keys, using the pointer, using the a trackball. So that is important into the screen design, and this fit law is given, that particular fit law for this movement control. The time to acquire a target is a function of the distance to and size of the target. This simply means that the bigger of the target is, or the closer the target, it is faster and it will be reached. The implication is the designer provide large object for important function. If they are a large object, that we have to achieve faster than compared to the system, and take advantage of pinning action of the sides, top, bottom and corner of the screen. Learning, we already know that learning is basically we already said is a process encoding into the long term memory information that is contained in the short term memory. So it is a complex process requiring some effort of the part. Okay, design developed to minimize the human learning time can greatly accelerate how human performance. So learning can be enhanced it if allow skill acquired to be used is another somewhat like it. Design consistency completes this, and we also provide complete and prompt feedback. So is phase that is require a person to know only the extra information needed at stage of the learning process. A skill, a different people have a different skill, and some people have a great skill, some people have low skill. So the goal of human performance is perform skillfully. Just like someone is good for in Java programming and someone is not good for Java programming. So it is characterized by consistency and economy of the efforts. So economy of effort is achieved by establishing a work pace that representing optimum efficiency. Skill are hierarchical in nature, and many basic skills are may be integrated to form of increasingly complex ones, and lower order skills tend to become routine and may drop out from the consciousness. System and screen design must permit development of increasingly skillfully performance. Okay. Individual differences, we already know that in real life there is no average user. Someone has a good characteristics of one thing, and someone have a good characteristics of anything things. So complicated but very advantageous human characteristics are, we all are differ in look, feeling, motor abilities, intellectual ability, learning abilities, and speed, and so on. So individual difference complicated design because the design must permit people with widely varying characteristics to satisfactorily and comfortable learn the task or job or use a website. Okay, but technology now offer the possibilities of tailoring job to a specific need of the people with varying and changing learning or skill level. Okay, so that's all from my side, and if you have any query, we have to discuss about what kind of users need and what kind of task they are and what kind of people facing the trouble. So we have to identify what is the user and client, why people have the trouble with the computers, and what kind of responses in the poor design and people and their task, and some of the important human characteristics into the design. So if there is any query, just feel free to ask me in my mail id guptapradeep@akgec.ac.in. Thank you.